Christy Newitt, who is the school counselor coordinator for the school district, as well as Pamela Story, who is the school social work coordinator. And they're going to bring us the details this morning about this updated attendance policy. Can we give them a warm Cumberland County Schools welcome?
So I'm Christy Newitt, I'm the counseling coordinator.
And I'm Pamela Story, I'm the social work coordinator.
So those of you, before we get started, just so you're aware, part of this presentation is because we are moving into new attendance policy changes come January. So we've done some push out already. Dr. Whitley and his team has, I know, gotten the message out. There's more that's coming, but they asked because they thought it would be helpful for this group to also be able to hear it and pass it forward.
Okay, so first of all, how many of you knew that there is an attendance, a compulsory attendance law in the state of North Carolina?
Familiar with that?
Okay, so that means that once children reach 6 absences, 6 unexcused absences, we are mandated by law to notify them, okay? So, what has happened recently is that across the nation, chronic absenteeism has become a problem. It's become an issue since COVID, and we're trying not to blame everything on COVID because we know we're moving past that. But we have noticed in Cumberland County Schools that the percentage of public students, public K through 12 students who miss 10% or more in a year, the number is rising. We're at 34, what is it, Christy? 34.5%
our rate
in
for
Cumberland
last year.
County Schools. Now this is a national problem, okay? You can Google it. There have been task force, the President Biden has developed a task force that we're all a part of. But what we're talking about with chronic absenteeism that I want you to help get the message out, we're talking about any time a student does not go to school. Unexcused or excused, including suspensions, okay? So even if they're sick, that means they're what? They're not at school. So we're focusing on chronic absenteeism. Okay?
And once again, that's when they've missed 10% or more of their school year due to attendance.
And so, what is the impact? As you can see, and I'm not going to read everything, it starts when it starts in the early grades, we have noticed it becomes a pattern, okay? It can prevent children from developing the basic skills they need to succeed, because we all know the foundation starts when? Not in high school, but in preschool, really, even before. It starts at home, really. In middle grades, chronically absent students are less likely to be on track to graduate on time, okay? And then once they're in high school, chronically absent students are more likely to drop out. And I also serve as the co-dropout coordinator, and Christy is the
Graduation rate.
She handles the graduation rate. So we are noticing, even now, as we are getting ready to report to the state, that we have many, many students who are missing or disengaged. So Christy's really our data guru here. But if you just look at the data, and we're going to focus, if you would, bring your attention to Cumberland County Schools, going back to 2019, 20% of our students were chronically absent. Okay, now we don't have the data for 2020 because of what? The pandemic. In 2021, that number rose from 20% to 32%. Okay, so we were coming out of the pandemic, and we were still somewhat
some virtual, some
Yeah. Then 2022, it went up to 40%. Can you imagine 40% of our students were not coming to school? And so for last year, it went down, and we're making progress. It was 34.5%. But we believe in Cumberland County Schools that children should be what? In school, on time, every day. And for some of our families, we have to tell them, if they're sick, send them to school, and we'll do what?
Try to take
We'll
care of
notify you, unless they have a temperature.
them. Yeah, there's certain things, please don't send them to school with.
Yeah, we'll notify you.
Please don't, but you can also see the trends. Cumberland County has been higher since 2019 from the United States and the state. And it's not just impacting public schools. Pam recently received an email from one of our private schools wanting help on terms of, what are you doing? Because we've got kids that won't come to us either. So I'm not really sure what it is, but it's an issue for our county, which ultimately impacts our future, right?
And some of the think tanks that we're a part of, just think about it. It's a culture shift since COVID. Now, most of you here, your parents did not allow you to just stay home. Even if you were sick, you had to be in the bed, what? Sick.
Dying, basically, right?
Basically. But our social workers and counselors have been making home visits, and we're noticing a different attitude. Ma'am, your child has missed 6 days from school. We're just making a courtesy home visit. Oh, she's back there. She's back there in the back. She's watching the younger kids because I've got to go to work. Or, oh, now this is not, okay, so let me clarify. This is not all parents, but many parents just have a different attitude about it. Oh, it's no big deal. She's making A's. But for us, we want students what? In school, on time, every day. So here's some reasons you can see that students are out. Right now, December 1st, the legislators extended the time for kindergartners to get their health assessments and immunizations to December 1st. I get to work today and I have at least 10 emails where students are being dismissed. And they've known about it. We've had clinics, private doctors. We've offered to pay for immunizations. But okay, if they don't have that, they can't come to school. Transportation. We have a transportation system here in Fayetteville that it's gotten better, but we have some outlying areas where students cannot get to school. Parental student apathy. We have parents who are still afraid of COVID because COVID is still here. Oh, I'm not sending my child to school.
I think part of that also comes with, during that year and a half, not that students were passed along, but there was more forgiveness in terms of schoolwork, grades. And I think there is still that misnomer that they don't have to come to school and they're gonna pass, right? That they're not recognizing that there is no more just you're gonna get a grade or you're gonna get a pass, right? And so this apathy has almost happened, especially at the upper levels, not so much the lower, of it's okay, mom or dad, if I miss, because, right? And some parents just don't know because they are working and they haven't had a chance to be as involved as maybe they would like to be. And I think it also goes down to that bottom one, which is that mental health issues, right? It was a traumatic experience for a lot of individuals, and that has increased depression, anxiety, social anxiety, all of those things. And so you all are parents. How many of you like to fight with your kid? How many of you want to sometimes just grab them and make them do, right? Well, the older they get, the harder it is to get them to do something. So to Pam's point, there has been, I think, frustration as well of, I have a 16-year-old that's just refusing. What am I supposed to do? Right? So I think there's multiple factors that are coming into this that I think have only increased because of what being out of school, not being socialized did to us as a society, plus other things that are happening also in this world today, that has made it harder, for sure.
And I'm not gonna go,
You're there, I think.
I'm not gonna go through the whole
Maybe
list. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, but let's look at basic needs. Many of our students, we live in a tier 1 poverty city. Okay, poverty, you may not see it every day, but homelessness and poverty is rampant here in Cumberland County. So many of our students don't come to school because they don't have basic needs. And we provide them. We have funding, we have grants, we have community resources. We have lots of resources to provide, but many parents don't know. But lack of basic needs, food insecurity, toiletry items, these are some real serious issues that we have. Okay. So, we began to brainstorm at the central office. So we can talk and talk and talk about the problems, but as our superintendent says, let's come with some solutions. So we put our brains together and we wanted to share with you all of the possible solutions, and we want to engage your support in helping us as well. So we hired Mrs. Beverly Young, who was a truancy support specialist last year. She's coming from a background at DSS, and she is excellent in engaging parents. So with her help, she goes out and makes home visits, calls, goes on social media. She does a phenomenal job as a truancy support specialist to help us. Okay, so we've engaged our administrators now. So attendance is everybody's problem. It's not just the school social worker, it's not the school counselor's problem. So we've engaged our administrators to make sure that their data managers and their staff are following the compulsory attendance law and monitoring and keying in attendance correctly. So then we have your school social worker. They're going to run the weekly report, they're going to do consultations, they're making home visits, they're doing all of this. We've got the school counselor involved. They're making calls, they're doing individual and group sessions, and we have counselors, they're making home visits. It's a team effort to try to combat this. We need our teachers. They've got to record the attendance correctly daily because they're the first contact each day with a student. Then we've got our data managers. They're the ones who are going in, and when Johnny's sick and sends a note in the next day, they go in and correct it because in our student system, it defaults automatically to an absence. Parents and students, this is where I need your help. When you're out talking in the schools, please, and in your community and in your churches, help parents get these kids to school on time and to come. We get calls at the central office all the time. Hey, there's a group of kids hanging out over by the smoke shop. There's a group of kids down the street. The mama leaves in the morning, they don't come to school. And what we then do is we dispatch social workers or safe school coordinators, and maybe we can use some of you to actually go out to try to see what's going on. And then we're engaging the whole community. This is a community problem that we're facing. So that means stakeholders such as law enforcement, Department of Social Services, churches, organizations. We're all rallying together to make sure that our children are in school. So we hit upon a district-wide attendance campaign that started in August, and in September, we had Attendance Awareness Month where we had activities in every school. We've got a Truancy Mediation Council. Now the Truancy Mediation Council, how many of you all have heard about that?
Just in the handbook.
Just
Okay.
the handbook. Yep.
Okay, so under the compulsory attendance law, we can take parents to court. We can go to the magistrate and issue a warrant for their arrest. But as our attorney says, who wants to do that? Do you want to go to jail because your children won't get up in the mornings and won't come to school? No. And we are not punitive, we're restorative. So we have a Truancy Mediation Council that meets monthly. It's comprised of community, stakeholders, and this is where we just come and sit down and, mediation. We sit down and talk about it. What's going on? What can we do to help you? And so that's going to change effective January when our updated attendance law goes into effect. And as of right now, but magistrates are issuing warrants for their arrests. So it used to be that you would just get a little letter in the mail saying, please appear, what do you call that, a summons? please appear in court, Mr. Figs, on such and such a date for violation of the North Carolina compulsory attendance law. But if schools are that, if your child is missing that many days, we go down to the magistrate, down at the sheriff's office, we actually issue a warrant, and parents are actually being arrested and convicted. Some have had to do community service. They have to bail out. Now that is very, very difficult.
It's extreme.
It's
not every
extreme.
parent. It's
It's
extreme.
extreme. And we do, and the ones that we did recently, these were parents that said, hey, I don't care about that. I already got 6 or 7 warrants. I told Chrissy, we had one case, we took the choice of mediation. She actually told the judge, well, why don't you come to my house and get my children out of bed? And he said, I'll see you on the other side, which he did. But again, we're not going to focus on the negative. We're focusing on the positive. But that is the Truancy Mediation Council. I want y'all to remember, TMC. That is an intervention that we're doing to keep parents from going to court and to keep children in school.
And during those meetings, resources are provided, right? It's not just a gotcha meeting, it's a let's talk about what's going on. What are some barriers you're experiencing? What can we do from the school system to partner with you as a parent to figure out what's going on? Is it a resource issue that we can help you with? Is it a mental health issue with you or your child that we can connect you to? So it really is, the target is an intervention. It's not a got you, and it's to help not get to that next level of, okay, so we've tried and there still doesn't seem to be, kind of thing. And that would be then when that next level would come in the magistrate. But the goal is that TMC kind of is that fix if the initial letters and communication don't work.
And it's very effective at the elementary and middle school level. Because at 16, until they raise the age, they can do what? They can drop out. So it's very important that we get them there. We've got a 15-year-old that we're taking to TMC now, because until she turns 16, by law, she still needs to be in school.
Yep.
Okay, so then we decided that we're going to look at the policy and talk about some revisions. So again, okay, so how many of y'all have heard every minute counts? That's our kickoff theme, okay? So we're still carrying that over from a couple of years ago. So every minute counts. So what we're doing, we're building capacity in the schools. We're bringing everybody on board. We're looking at the data. And we're looking at, when we say actionable data, at Infinite Campus, we now are at a point where we can actually see the trends in the schools, notify the schools, and seek to improve. Positive engagement. That's what we're doing here today. We're trying to engage you all as ambassadors to get the word out. As Christy said, we're not here to take anybody to jail, because many times it's the children, not the parents. So we want strategic partnerships, such as with you in our community. We're reaching out, and we want to be equitable. We want to make sure, and this is kind of a sticky subject, but we want to make sure that we're not targeting certain subgroups, like the homeless families. Many of them have high absenteeism because they're transient. So we want to be equitable, and that's why we work as a team, because we don't want to have a courtroom or TMC room full of homeless families. We want to be across the board, because I'm telling you, I like to tell this story. We have a family, took their children out of school for a week. Guess where they went? They went to Disney World. And they didn't see anything about it. They didn't think it was any big deal. So it's not just, we're trying to be equitable, and we're trying to share accountability.
That just gives them more.
You can just review this. This just is an overview. Our dates, our next date is January 10th, and we already have put the dates out for TMC. We meet from 8:30 to 4, the third Friday of each month at the Cumberland County Courthouse. It is not an open meeting due to confidentiality, but it's very rewarding And we've seen some positive results. So now, just real quickly, this is from the policy.
This is from
The
the statute that
statute,
the
North
North
Carolina
Carolina
compulsory
State.
attendance law, right?
So you can see where it
So go
talks
ahead,
about Section 5, specifically Section 5, Rules of Procedure. So just to give you some backstory, 2016, 17, maybe 15, 16, we had stricter consequences for our students regarding attendance, where at the high school level, if they had 10 or more absences, they failed. Even if they had an A in the class, they failed due to attendance. 17, 8, and there was language in the state compulsory attendance manual, data and accountability manual, that allowed this. 17, 18, that language changed, and it moved to this. Each LEA must enforce state laws, regulations. LEAs may adopt rules which allow teachers to consider a student's absences in the computation of the student's grades. And then Part H, attendance policies related to minimum days of attendance for course credit or promotion are established or authorized by local Board of Education HLEA. So at that point, the FF went away in Cumberland County, and the kids had a heyday. Because there was no longer that threat of, if I don't go to school, I'm gonna fail. COVID obviously did not help things either. So part of what we're reintroducing, after seeing our chronic absentee rates and how high they have gotten, and how that is also impacting just our students' success in the classroom, their behavior, the support and partnership with our families, this was one of the big things that we are reintroducing. We're bringing back, but we're not just bringing it back for high school, we're bringing it back K-12 because we've noticed that there is chronic absenteeism K-8, right? Or 6 through 15, with the threat of truancy mediation counsel / going to court, right? That doesn't seem to be heavy enough. So we, to show you, and I will say this does not include students with chronic health. We do want to make that aware. We recognize those students are completely different. They're having a completely other thing, so they are excused from this. But the idea, we've come up with some proposed changes to our current attendance. So to start small, we have, we're kind of limiting our excused absences. So we got with a group of principals and ran this by them and said, you know, what are you noticing? What are you thinking? We've also, we collaborated with the social workers, the counselors, got some feedback from them, some parents, and so we came up with now having a limited number of parent guardian written notices submitted. So now parents can only turn in 10 parent notes, basically. 10 sick notes, because what we were finding was that they were turning in 40 or 50. And at like the end of the year when they were questioned, right? So now it's, you only get 10 parent notes. If your kid is that sick, let's go to the doctor. Let's figure out what we need to do to get your kid to the doctor, right?
And bring documentation.
Yeah, I'm all about a mental health day. I am all about it. We all need one. But when we're that, you know, when we're having that kind of absence, then there's a problem. We have established a time frame for the submission. So similar to what the expectation is with homework, they get 5 days to turn in their note from the time they return. So similar to homework, they get 5 days to make up missed homework assignments. They're now going to get 5 days to turn that absenteeism note, whether it's a parent note or it's a doctor note. And that's also to fix the, hey, I'm turning 40 notes in May for the entire year. And then absences after the 10th parent guardian written note or those turned in after the deadline will be considered unexcused. So you have your opportunity to keep it excused. We're now going to just make those unexcused. We've added language about the compulsory attendance law. So in the past, it was just a link that went to the state statute. Now it is actually spelled out. So if a parent were to pull up our policy now, they'll actually be able to read, like, after 3 days, after 6 days, after 10 days. So we made it extremely transparent. They no longer have to just click on a link to take them to a new tab. So we wanted to do that. And then, like I said, the bigger consequence is that excessive absences, which is Section E. So K-5, they'll have a potential denial of student promotion. So a team within the building will have a chance to look at students' absences, and there could potentially be a retention due to being absent for too much and not having enough time to master. And then for 6-12, it would be denial of course credit, so they now can fail the class again, which could also end up impacting promotion. High school has specific credit requirements, like you have to pass English, you have to have so many credits to move on to the next year. Middle school is different, right? You technically could fail all core classes and still be promoted. As a high school counselor once, crazy to me because they do not come prepared for high school with that. They think that they can fail everything and still move on. It's a really big wake-up call for our freshmen. So this is our way of trying to help support that. So as you can kind of see, this is spelled out a little bit more. Any student who accumulates or exceeds the 10 unexcused absences during a semester in K-5 could become immediately put into jeopardy of being retained. Once they get 20, and this is all unexcused, right? So not excused, so doctor's notes are great. Those 10 parent notes, great, but 20 unexcused cumulative absences for the year, the parent guardian's basically going to be notified, hey, your kid is going to be retained. They then have the option to do an appeal process, apply for that waiver, be able to explain, hey, this is why, this is what was going on. It'll then go to that student services committee to kind of review. They'll make a recommendation to the principal, and the principal ultimately will be the one to make that decision. And then for 6-12, similarly, after they have more than 20 cumulative unexcused absences for the year, first grade 6-8, or 20 per semester, because high school, there are 4 classes in the fall and 4 brand new classes in the spring, they will go through the same process. They'll be told that they're not going to receive credit. They can apply for an appeal, and then for them, they'll either not receive the passing grade, they'll get the FF, the grade will either be reduced, so it may go from an A to a B or a B to a C, or the student will receive the grade otherwise earned because they'll be given additional time. So once again, that's where that appeal will come in. The parent-student can explain what's been going on. That committee will hear it, make a recommendation, principal will determine it. So that is pretty much the attendance aspect. And it will officially start in January, so and the fall is not a scratch, but kind of a scratch in a way. We with us getting approved, this being officially approved in November by the board, we knew it wasn't fair to hold families accountable for what was happening this fall, so everything will start brand new come January.